The story begins like a scene from a slapstick comedy, when the bank receives a call that they will surely recount for years to come. A woman in a pink dress, seemingly determined to play her naive card, is trying to cash a $2,500 check. She might have thought that the pink color of her dress would create a wave of freshness, as if the bank would forget about the obvious red flags right in front of them. But no, the bank is not a fashion show, and no matter how bright the pink dress, it couldn't hide the sharp gaze of the professional staff. As soon as she walks in, the bank immediately notices something is off. Not just because of the flashy pink dress, but also because of the check she's holding. Bank officials are rarely charmed by colors, and they quickly realize that this check doesn't match any previous transactions. Especially since it was issued from an account belonging to a customer with no connection to this woman. If it were a fashion contest, she might have won the most vibrant color award, but in financial terms, she definitely wouldn't win this race. As the bank begins its investigation and verification, signs of fraud begin to emerge like cracks in a glass. They discovered not only that the check seemed like a prank by someone, but also that the signature on the check didn't match any legal transactions in the system. Her pink dress might have stood out to passers-by, but to the bank, it was just a cloak that couldn't hide the truth beneath it. The absurdity of the situation becomes even more apparent when the bank decides to call the account holder for verification. And really, who would have guessed that the account holder, who is currently enjoying a retreat at a rehabilitation center, would deny any involvement in issuing the check? Perhaps the account holder is lying back and enjoying a healthy smoothie, while the woman in the pink dress embarks on a financial adventure that clearly wasn't well planned. And so, the story unfolds, and instead of bank models in pink dresses, we witness a complicated check fraud investigation with plenty of unexpected twists. A funny, dramatic tale, with a touch of irony about how sometimes the most unusual details turn out to be the source of the biggest mysteries. But the important thing is, it seems the pink dress couldn't help her hide the truth, and no one can pull off an elaborate prank without paying the price. As soon as the incident occurs, the bank, seemingly unable to wait another second, decides to immediately call the account holder for verification. But this is when the story suddenly turns into a check fraud case, with a twist that will make everyone laugh. The account holder, instead of sitting in an office with a cup of black coffee, is enjoying a wellness retreat at a rehabilitation center, where he is diligently restoring his health. The story becomes even more amusing when it's clear he's busy working on his physical therapy exercises, rather than checking who's trying to withdraw money from his account. When the bank asks him to verify the $2,500 check, he answers decisively, as if he's a financial expert, "I did not issue this check, and I know nothing about it." His response seems convincing, but there's something that makes people smile. Not only is he probably trying to recover his health, but he might also be trying to recover his memory. Who wouldn't wonder when hearing him say that? Could it be that the $2,500 check the woman is bringing in is a huge mistake in his life? A mistake that's not just a minor issue in a forgotten bill, but a check worth the equivalent of a luxurious resort vacation? The scene becomes even more dramatic when imagining the account holder sitting in a therapy room with a warm towel on his forehead, panting while recovering from the mental stresses of life. Yet, when asked about the check, he suddenly becomes sharp, as if all the past events rush back to him. What check? What? I didn't issue any checks. This raises suspicions. Is he deliberately avoiding responsibility? Or is it simply that he can't remember the details because he's too busy with his exercise and diet routine? No one knows for sure, but it's clear that this $2,500 check is the perfect evidence of a huge mistake in the busy life of the account holder. And amidst all those firm denials, people can't help but laugh when imagining him with a warm towel on his head, while the woman in the pink dress is having a dramatic adventure at the bank. What happens next? Who knows? Maybe he'll recover his memory and recall that he signed this check, or maybe it's just a mistake he'll never remember. And so, while the bank and the account holder are working hard to explain that this is no big deal, just a misunderstood check, the authorities, as if they've been waiting for this moment for years, immediately jump into action. An investigation is launched, with such seriousness that one might wonder whether they're investigating a criminal case or a petty theft from Aunt's wallet in the countryside. Everything seems to change in an instant, from what seemed like a simple matter, now turned into an investigation with all the necessary elements. Witness nods, dramatic testimonies, and unexpected twists from the suspects. What seemed like it would be a few casual questions about, "Did you write this check?" suddenly turns into a long-running drama where the suspects, those involved, and even those uninvolved play crucial roles. Testimonies, initially imagined to be straightforward, are now filled with quirky details that make people laugh. For example, when the woman claims that the check was a birthday gift from a sugar daddy she met at the public store, things get even funnier when imagining her standing in front of the account holder, who's trying to restore his health, and asking him to confirm that he gave her a $2,500 check. When the authorities get involved, everything becomes more intense than ever. The investigation not only focuses on uncovering the truth about the check, but also expands into previously unheard-of suspicions. Why doesn't the account holder remember issuing the check, while the woman is so sure of it? Is it because the account holder is just trying to avoid responsibility, or is it truly a mistake in a life he's trying to recall? And then, questions pile up, and the details become more fascinating and tense. Every new detail is like a twist that turns the case into an artwork of surprises. And so, a case that seemed simple transforms into a dramatic, humorous, and full of subtext story. Everything starts to become unpredictable, from serious interrogations to paradoxical answers. Both the bank, the police, and the account holder seem to be part of an unscripted play, where no one knows who will be next to get caught in an awkward situation. And only when the case is finally brought to court will people be able to laugh freely, knowing this is a story with all the dramatic elements and an unexpected ending. During the initial investigation, everything seems to be pushed to a new level of drama and humor, as the police, with serious faces, decide to detain the woman and the man she's dragged along as her companion in this unexpected adventure. This isn't a surprise trip, but an unwanted adventure, and of course, the police don't forget to ask both of them to sit down in a tense atmosphere and wait. Both are asked to cooperate with the authorities, so seriously that if anyone didn't understand what was going on, they'd think they were watching a suspense thriller, where every situation seems to have a hidden meaning. And then comes the most interesting part of the story. The police don't forget to remind the woman and the man of their rights. But, if you look at the situation, it's clear that, in that moment, even the coldest police officers can't avoid a mischievous smile in their eyes. Because, can you imagine, when you're facing a case full of suspicion, yet there's something absurd about it, as if everything is part of a game set up by fate? They have the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, but how long will this cooperation last while everything is still as unclear as an unsolved detective film? The police can't help but wonder if they can continue the interrogation without feeling like they're filming a surreal movie, where the testimonies are not only contradictory but so funny that no one can believe them. It's evident that, while the seriousness of the investigation is undeniable, in the atmosphere, there's also something strange, mixing tension with moments of lightness that are hard to explain. And so, amid serious questions and awkward testimonies, one thing is certain. Everything is still unclear, and everyone knows that in a case like this, nothing is certain until the final truth of the case is revealed. And just as predicted, before starting the interrogation, the police, with faces as serious as if they've just completed an advanced course in Legal Procedure 101 at a prestigious police academy, begin announcing the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. This is a scene that can't be missing from any crime thriller. You can't begin an investigation without mentioning the rights of the subject, just like you can't miss a phone call from a lawyer in tense situations. It's as if they want to create a formal space, as if they're at an international legal conference, where everything must follow clear and strict rules. However, perhaps in this situation, these two actors don't quite understand the message the police are conveying. The right to remain silent doesn't mean they can perform silence as part of their defense strategy. But perhaps, with a little creativity from the woman and the man, they might think this is the perfect opportunity to try out their roles in a detective movie. Silent roles, with only glances and silence, as if they were mysterious characters playing a keep quiet. Game in the middle of an interrogation. Here's the translation of the text you provided into English. So, in a moment, this woman created an unbelievable story, combining love, money, and bizarre relationships that could only exist in comedy films. This story is not only entertaining but also a clear sign that sometimes this world is truly full of strange and wonderful things, especially when we are constantly surprised by the creative relationships and the ways people can repay each other. And if you think this was a one-time occurrence, you are really mistaken. This woman never fails to leave people in awe as she continues to claim that these checks were not products of imagination or random luck. They were personally written and handed to her by her sugar daddy. Not anyone else, but him, the generous man, like a walking bank, always ready to spend money to take care of her work. A very special, creative job, and clearly not lacking in appeal. If there were an award for the person who could make everything seem truly convincing, she would probably take first place. She doesn't hesitate to emphasize that this isn't the first time she's received this generous payment from her sugar daddy. Each time, he not only gives her cash checks but also brings an undeniable sense of spiritual protection. You'll surely do a great job, and I will pay you what you deserve. Sounds like a fair deal, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want a job with a generous salary, a job that requires little effort yet is glamorous? But don't rush to dream, because her life isn't just about money. It's also a series of meticulously planned and systematic transactions. To reinforce her story, she confidently claims that everything has been arranged in a perfect way, as if there's a detailed plan behind every check. Work, receive money, work again, receive money again, and so the cycle continues, like a perfect loop anyone would envy. No wonder she calls herself a professional in the art of making money, an effective, swift work system that anyone dreams of. She's like a true entrepreneur in this field, with a clear strategic vision. Just do your job well, which could include cleaning or other light tasks, and get your deserved reward from a benevolent sugar daddy. Who wouldn't love a job where you can work and receive gifts? Of course, these checks are not just money, but proof of a cooperative relationship where both parties know exactly what they'll get, both material and spiritual rewards, all made clear from the start. It's truly an unbreakable happy circle. And who knows, maybe she is a symbol of success in the sugar daddy world, where the exchange is never meaningless, and everything can be traded for a reasonable price, as long as you know how to negotiate and maintain your profession. With her persuasive and seemingly confident explanations, this woman presented everything, from the $2,500 check to the effort of withdrawing money from the bank, as part of a financial process that had been established in a very systematic and professional manner. She even confidently made everyone around her think she had invented a perfect financial system only understood by the smart. But one thing she completely overlooked: the bank and the police, the people involved in this financial process, clearly were not those who had signed up for this gift system. She might not even realize that the check she was trying to cash wasn't just a special birthday gift, but also a glaring red flag, like a massive warning light signaling fraud here. A perfect birthday gift might be a cake, a bouquet of flowers, or a trip. But a $2,500 check from a man who is neither her boyfriend nor husband clearly has issues. Maybe in her world, this check is the traditional way of showing affection, but in the real world of banks and the police, it's a red flag that needs immediate investigation. Anyway, with her explanations full of confidence, it all must be an unavoidable misunderstanding, right? After all, every check from a sugar daddy has its own reason, doesn't it? Maybe it's true love, maybe it's gratitude, or maybe it's just a financial cooperation agreement that only the parties involved understand. Nothing to worry about. After all, who wouldn't want such a big birthday gift from someone with no clear romantic relationship but is willing to give money like that? This so-called gift is truly valuable, and perhaps she believes that the bank and the police will understand this and acknowledge it as simply an act of generosity from a friend. However, when everything starts being laid out for a thorough examination, it becomes clear that her personal financial system doesn't match the bank's and legal procedures. These investigations are not casual conversations between friends, but detailed financial and legal analyses where every theory must be tested and every explanation must be substantiated. But still, she insists that everything will be fine, because perhaps in her world, money and love are always things that can be exchanged easily without any difficulty. The man, who cannot be missing from this tense conversation, revealed a very interesting detail that made many stop and ask, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" He, just as prominent in this drama, is also a gift receiver from the same sugar daddy, the account holder who both are suspected of check fraud. Yes, you heard right. This man is also on the list of those gifted, generous financial gifts from the boss, who is now under suspicion of check fraud. The $800 check he received, according to him, was a completely legitimate payment for his work cleaning the yard on April 20th. The simple job he's talking about seems like a small, easy task, nothing major. But wait, who wouldn't want to get paid well for cleaning a garden, right? It's like being a professional yard cleaner for the day, except that he has a sugar daddy willing to reward him generously for his efforts. An easy, generous job. This is the kind of job many people dream of. But like all dramatic stories, this one definitely doesn't stop here.
Why?
Because when the bank starts going through the checks and tracking every transaction, everything suddenly becomes murky. The yard he cleaned, according to his testimony, did he really put in the effort, or was it just the perfect excuse for a shady financial transaction? The checks from the sugar daddy seem to be growing more generous in a strange way. Does cleaning a yard really require payments as high as $800, or is it simply part of a bigger plan, a complex financial arrangement that only those involved understand? Anyway, this man is very confident that what he received was completely legitimate, nothing to doubt. After all, who wouldn't want an easy job with high pay? But it seems like in the eyes of investigators, the story is not as simple as that. His appearance in the story has turned what seemed like harmless, ordinary details into suspicious signs, pieces that could fit together into a very different picture. And this is the moment when the story begins to escalate. Not just one person, but now two people are receiving gifts from the same source, and each check has its own story. Thus, all suspicions of check fraud have not only increased but also become more complicated than ever. Is this just a coincidence, or is there really a sophisticated financial scheme being carried out? And if so, who is behind it all? Clearly, this story is not going to end easily. Both checks, including the $2,500 check the woman brought and the $800 check the man received, have been flagged by the bank. But don't think it's because they are such unique or impressive birthday gifts. No, not at all. These checks have been flagged not because they're interesting or generous, but because they contain unmistakable signs of irregularity, raising questions that anyone with some financial knowledge would wonder about. And it's the bank. Yes, the place you would normally think would be safe for all financial transactions. That has done what any suspicious institution must do. They've started digging, checking, and uncovering secrets that can't be hidden. The bank didn't stop just by looking at the checks like they were extravagant birthday gifts. They did something more sophisticated, comparing the signatures on the checks with the original signatures of the account holder. And the result? The signatures didn't match. Oh, what a shocking discovery! Not just a wrong character, not just a sloppy stroke, but a clear mismatch. It's like suddenly discovering that your close friend decided to write a letter with completely different ink, and of course, signed in a way that didn't resemble their usual style at all. These checks, rather than being marks of a legitimate transaction, look more like products of an unfamiliar hand, with no trace of the account holder in them, like a fake stamp created in some dark office, rather than careful signatures performed with the care and responsibility of an account holder. It seems that the check is no longer just a birthday gift, but now they are evidence in a case, undeniable proof of fraud. The question now is, who really stands behind these fake signatures? Who has transformed these checks into invalid and dangerous products? And interestingly, it's not the suspects, but the checks themselves that are accusing everything. These are clear signs showing there's no generosity or favor here, only a financial scheme that needs to be exposed. But that's not all. The bank also pointed out that these transactions do not match the account holder's usual transaction history. If the account holder only knows how to transfer money for necessary payments, then the appearance of the $2,500 check to pay for a birthday gift, or the unclear yard cleaning job, has certainly created an abnormality that can't be overlooked. This all points to the fact that both checks may not be legitimate transactions, but the product of a perfect deception. Now, after everything has been set in motion, the investigation is clear. The checks have been flagged, the fraud has been discovered, and the web of lies that has been carefully woven has finally unraveled. It's no longer just a birthday gift or a simple financial exchange. It's a case of check fraud that has now become impossible to deny. The truth is out, and the consequences are waiting to unfold. After both suspects were warmly and no less formally received at the police headquarters, they officially embarked on the long and tense journey through the legal system. With a career in check fraud that could be considered quite ingenious, the two will now face much more challenging questions than the easy ones they previously answered, and perhaps they will no longer feel as comfortable as they did while, sincerely, confessing in the interrogation room. Every piece of evidence, no matter how small, from the suspicious checks to the naive testimony of the woman about a Hollywood-style romantic relationship, will be dissected. And no matter how they justify themselves, all will be judged under the blinding light of justice. The courtroom will be where this party officially takes place, where the theories of check fraud will be illuminated under the spotlight, with lawyers even showcasing their debating skills to make the entire panel of judges shake their heads in disbelief. Every detail of the case, from inconsistent testimonies to mismatched evidence, will be laid bare like shards of a shattered mirror. And now, justice will step in to decide whether the suspects are truly victims of an overly sensitive banking system or if they are indeed master fraudsters trying to conceal their sophisticated schemes. Throughout the investigation, judges and lawyers will have to sit together to analyze every aspect of the case, and they may even have to quietly laugh at the creative excuses of those attempting to secure their freedom. Every detail, no matter how small, will be dug up by legal experts to uncover the truth. Will they be convicted for check fraud, or are they merely unfortunate victims of an overly strict and unsympathetic banking system? The answer will only come after the court reaches its final conclusion, and until then, the two suspects may have to continue enjoying the luxury of life in detention. It's certain that all eyes will be on this trial, where not only the suspects but the entire legal system will face tricky situations that will surely cause many to breathe a sigh of relief if everything doesn't go awry. This story will definitely not end with just the checks. It's an epic of legal struggle where the truth, no matter how cleverly concealed, will ultimately be illuminated by the light of justice. And when that happens, one thing will be certain. The final decision will not only be a release for one side, but also a reminder to those who intend to play with the financial system without knowing how to turn back.